Hey, Dan.
Hey, Michelle, welcome back. Woo!
What is going on with your outfit
Oh,
today?
girl, look at this outfit. I am like a C-pop, like sex angel right now because this is the
This is
episode.
the long-awaited episode we talked
What?
about on sex and sleep.
Oh my gosh. I mean, of our listeners, who does not think a CPAP mask is sexy? Like, this has got to be like one of the sexiest things ever. Am I wrong? Am I right?
I mean, maybe compared to,
Ooh. I mean, look at that one. Oh wow, girl, that's like total like elephant looking. Oh
I think
wow.
Star Trek.
I didn't know it was like, oh
It's role
wow.
play.
Look at that. Look at you could totally role play with CPAP mask. I mean, but this brings up a whole can't even get it off of my face.
All right.
This brings up a whole thing though. Like, how does one have a I don't even know how to get it off. How does one this is definitely an episode to watch on YouTube, by the way, for our how does one have a sex life with CPAP?
Well, we're not going to talk specifically about CPAP, but we are going to talk about sex.
Ooh, sleep and sex.
Okay. CPAP just adds a whole other element to it. But you know, I think even way back when we were starting and we didn't even know each other that
Uh-huh.
well, we talked about like we have to talk about this because both in like our practice lives and things like that, sex is something that's done in the bedroom and sleep is something that's done in the
For
bedroom and
sure.
those are the only two things that we let happen in
Right.
bed.
We say sleep and sex, only things happen in
Yeah.
the bedroom, but we have not talked about sex until now.
Right.
I feel
Okay.
like we need like a theme song with that.
So, I'm going to give like kind of a brief physiologic like recap on it. If you
Mm-hmm.
have young children listening to this, there's nothing really that they couldn't learn from. I mean, it's really a biology type of class, but I'm being sensitive. So if this is something that you want to listen to on your own,
Mm.
it's medically appropriate, but it may not be appropriate for your kid.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
that's true. This one's not bedtime story material.
So it's important to kind of recognize that sex is something that humans do because there's a reproductive element of all animals on the planet. And there's certain things that have to happen, like physiologically. And we're going to first talk about the hormones, second, talk about like the physiology changes.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to talk about the sleep stages and the sleep changes. And then we're going to get into the whole psychology of it, which I think is a lot more. So animals of all shapes, sizes, colors have sex, and some of this physiology is part of all of those animals.
Oh yeah.
The psychology part is different because out in the wild, animals really are having sex for the purpose of reproduction. Humans do this also, like pleasure seeking and other
I mean,
important
I know
relationship
I
building.
wear my CPAP mask for pleasure seeking. Like, doesn't everyone wear their CPAP mask for pleasure
Okay,
seeking?
this episode is even if you don't have sleep apnea and
That's
CPAP.
true, because we're
Okay,
talking about sleep and sex.
right.
Right. Yep.
So on the hormonal side, we have three major hormones, like hormone classes. So oxytocin is known as the love hormone. It promotes relaxation. It promotes bonding. The other time you'll remember that we release oxytocin is making milk for babies
Hmm.
to help the uterus and the muscles like relax when somebody's giving birth. So the effect on sleep is it reduces stress and anxiety. It also facilitates better sleep. So
Hmm.
oxytocin is involved on the sleep side. Endorphins, which are like our natural body's painkillers,
Hmm.
they're also generally mood elevators. So endorphins are another huge part of the hormone effect of sleep. And what they also do is they reduce stress, they reduce pain, and they also lead to a more relaxed state. Again,
Yeah.
improving sleep.
Right.
And then there's a hormone called prolactin. Prolactin makes more milk production, but it is released post orgasm, and it's also associated with sleepiness. So that is kind of an important thing. Is after the sexual act to be able to have that kind of relaxation to improve sleep. It increases relaxation and improves drowsiness. Remember, drowsiness not being sleepiness.
Correct.
But someone
Well, I
who
mean,
is
but we've all
drowsy
been
can
there.
get sleepy.
If you're drowsy, you're probably not going to have sex. That's for sure.
Correct. Okay. Or but maybe like that they're saying it's a whole hormonal thing that you probably
Yeah. Right.
could chalk yourself over that little mountain
Yep, you
that's
can.
there.
Hmm.
Okay. So the autonomic nervous system is involved. Sex is really the sympathetic, the fight or flight, and the
Hmm.
parasympathetic, which is the rest and digest. They're both involved.
Hmm.
One on the whole arousal side, and then the other on the orgasm side.
Hmm.
The shift from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic is really an important thing that has to happen. It's like a yin and yang. You can't have
Oh
one
yeah,
without the other.
for sure.
If you start in that rest and digest, you have to kind of still get yourself over.
Oh
So
yeah.
there is that relaxation side, and that you doesn't always mean drowsiness and
Oh yeah.
tired.
Right.
That it can trigger once you're relaxed, you can get the sympathetic side from the
Well, and
endorphins.
a quick tip too, because
Yeah.
and for our male listeners out there, because I would say this shows up quite a bit, is there's lots of things that can also interfere with the sexual process. And for men in particular, as we're talking about erection, anxiety or performance or concerns about that can absolutely interfere with erectile functioning. Like
Hmm.
when you're trying to be intimate with your significant other, or trying to pursue those types of things. So that's a huge part. We'll talk more about with the psychology of this stuff later, but it's also connected to your nervous system. And so you'll need both of these pieces there to be able to have a pleasurable sexual experience. So,
Right. Okay. So in the sympathetic state, the heart rate and the blood pressure and the respiratory rate generally go up. And that's an important part of the arousal process. Okay. So not just
hmm.
the sexual organs, but like your whole body starts getting activated. And in regards to the effect of sleep, post orgasm, or
Mm,
post sexual act, or post exercise physiology in general, whether you're not you're having sex with partner or not,
hmm.
there's a decrease in your heart rate and a decrease in your blood pressure. And that's the help. It's also like kind of a decrease in temperature
Hmm.
because all the heat is radiated out of your body
Right.
onto the skin. So sweating is also associated with lowering your body
Hmm.
temperature, your core body.
Question for you, Michelle.
Yeah.
Is sexercise a thing? Like, can you have elevated cardiovascular levels while having sex?
Yeah, that's the game plan,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Absolutely. And do we love cardiovascular activity for better sleep? We
Absolutely.
sure do. Yep.
So these are kind of important things to think about. We've talked about like kind of metabolism. The sympathetic drive is part of that. Now, if there's a lot of like anxiety or stress, particularly talking about disorders
Yeah.
of people or people that have pain, you're not going to be able to get some of these responses without addressing some of those things
Hmm.
first. So the person who's undergoing like a significant amount of stress or pain,
Right.
or what we were just talking
Hmm.
about, if you're already sleepy and too tired, that kind of creates again more of the adrenaline, not endorphin, not the good kind of adrenaline that's
Correct.
going on there.
Right. All of a sudden, your brain shifts from having an enjoyable experience to then shifting to, oh, there's danger in some way. And that danger might be, I don't want to embarrass myself, or I don't want to negatively impact who I'm with, my partner. So both of those types of reactions can short circuit the arousal process pretty
Yeah, and
quickly.
that's an important thing to say is because you actually have to go through the initiation and then the orgasm part in order to get the relaxation and the stress relief.
Yeah, to get the good sleep benefits,
Mhm.
we want you to get to the end.
Yeah, so it can
Hmm.
increase the amount of sleep, but really it increases kind of that density of how much REM sleep that you can get.
Hmm.
So in terms of on the deep sleep side, it's deep sleep is going to be crucial for like physical restoration,
Hmm.
and that's really important. Is once your body's done kind of that work, I mean, so to speak,
For
so,
sure.
right, the
It's
work
a
of doing it,
cardiovascular
right?
activity. Yep, absolutely.
Then that's a really important time to address kind of that rest and restore
Hmm.
parasympathetic part.
That oxytocin dump is also a
Mhm.
pretty drowsy inducing experience for some people. So,
But, until I was reading a little bit for this talk, you don't really think about that it's actually really important for helping your muscle recovery.
yeah.
And it's really important for some of like kind of the brain
Yeah.
chemicals that go in there.
Hmm.
So, um, tell me a little bit about like the psychology of it.
Yeah, so there's a lot that happens with sex if you think about it. It's a human
I
interaction.
feel like we need like the songs that go along with this
Oh
in the
yeah.
background.
I feel like, girl, this should turn into like a multi-volume like episode. Maybe this will be like our highest watched, most
If you
downloaded
like this
episode.
episode, you need to subscribe
Oh
and comment
yeah.
right now
For sure.
because then we'll make sure that we create more.
Yeah, and then we'll answer your questions about sleep and sex. All of them. But back to the to
It'll
the
turn into a little different
to the
podcast.
psychology of sex. Yes, we'll have a spin-off. um
Need
but
to-
but back to it, because what's really interesting about sex, it's an incredibly interpersonal interaction. If you think about it, there's a lot of communication happening, and it's not necessarily verbal communication, although it can, and that can definitely be a part of the arousal process as well. But generally speaking, a lot of times you're incredibly perceptive to sound, to touch, to temperature changes, to you name it,
Smells.
like all of it. Like,
Hmm.
it's an entire multi-sensory experience. And the real challenge with sleep and sex, and oftentimes when I kind of interact with it from my client's perspective, it's usually when things go wrong. It's when something kind of interferes with the process.
Hmm.
And as I was kind of alluding to earlier around anxiety, there's lots of pieces, whether it's living with chronic pain, or whether it's responding to some injury, or whether you're living with insomnia and your sleep, cycles all over the place. You name it, there can be, or you can be recovering from lots of other pieces. There's so many parts that can really interfere with sex, that it's more than just what I think sometimes really gets simplified down to is someone's either not interested in it, or maybe there's another kind of core problem. Um, all that to say, the psychology of this stuff is there's multiple pieces to it. And really, the goal is you want to create an environment where you feel safe, where you feel seen, where you feel understood, because that's where you're going to be able to have probably one of the most vulnerable experiences that you can have, with somebody. And there is also an important part to acknowledge too. There is emotional intimacy that happens with sex. There's also physical intimacy. And some of us can be wired a little bit differently, where sometimes you don't need that emotional intimacy in order to explore the physical part, and others need the emotional intimacy before they can explore the physical
Hmm.
part. So all of those pieces of the puzzle are also taking place behind the scenes.
Do you think that there's a difference as people change ages?
There definitely are physiological changes as it relates to sex.
What about the psychological changes?
Psychological changes, I would say too, yes, in terms of your experience and your perspective on what you find pleasurable, as well as what you don't find pleasurable. I would also say your tolerance for discomfort tends to decrease as you age. So that's another part of where you're like, yeah, I'm not comfortable doing that, or I'm not, as into that maybe. And that's a whole other part, because how do you communicate to someone that you love and care about that, hey, that thing that we used to do, I always really liked, now I don't like it as much, especially if you're not talking about these things outside of the actual sexual experience. So,
Yeah, I think there's, a lot of cultural stuff too that goes along with it
mhm.
because sometimes sex in humans is for like the purpose of propagation of the species.
Sure.
But as people get older, where that's not the case anymore,
Hmm.
or that's like unwanted,
Sure.
then there might be like people coming at it from different points.
Yeah, 100%. There's so many cultural overlays, so many religious kind of overtones to it. Also, so many like social like ideas about what's maybe good and not so good too. Um, I would say this is where what really matters is what's between you and the significant other that has consented, that you're with, right? Everything got to be consensual here from this perspective, but
Hmm.
what ultimately matters is what's between you and that other person, or other persons, if that's another kind of dynamic as well. So,
So what I was kind of getting at, again, not to be like funny about the topic, but sometimes you were saying is stuff that you used to like or didn't like.
mhm.
Sometimes there's certain things that happen where you actually almost like overstimulate yourself. So not
Hmm.
just on the like sexual side, but maybe you injure yourself because
Yep.
you're trying, to do something, and because of these hormones, your body's like actually more relaxed, and then all of a sudden now afterwards you're having a harder time going to sleep
Yeah.
because now you're like somewhat injured.
Right.
There's also, this part of, what do you do afterwards? So,
Hmm.
especially if one person is like ready to go and they are just all the chemicals are making it so they're very
Hmm.
tired, and then the other person wants to talk.
Right. Yeah. This is where, I mean, my kind of rule of thumb on this is there should be a debrief time, not immediately after, but you do want to have an opportunity to circle back and talk about these things and be like, hey, what was that like last night for you? Or hey, I wanted to touch base, with you. I know we got together a couple days ago. Like what went well, what did not go so well? Because I will say a huge part that's really relevant is normalizing the discussion of this stuff. And this is just between you and whoever you're with. This is not necessarily a discussion you'd broadcast on a podcast like what we're doing right here. But what is important is developing the skill of having these conversations because there's so many taboo things around sex and sexual experiences that can just shut everything down. And really, what you want to do is you want to understand the person you're with to ideally have the best experience you can.
Yeah, but bottom line, sex is actually really an important part of improving your sleep health
Mm-mm.
because it involves all the different things that we talk about in terms of like how you actually get ready to go to sleep and how to improve the quality of sleep that you're getting.
Yep, absolutely. And this is where I would say it's a huge, piece. And Michelle, maybe you want to kind of lead into our sleep tip, our sexy sleep tip for today. But what is our sexy sleep tip?
Our sleep tip is try it. Okay. So your homework is do have sex and
Wow.
do kind of understand the things that are going into this. And again, really partner, no partner, it really involves this is a human, like kind of
Mm.
animal experience with it. Um, sex does help sleep.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I would say mash that subscribe button. Watch what podcast do you listen to that says that your homework is to go have sex. We would tell you, yep, go do it. Go have an enjoyable experience. And I love Michelle that you mentioned for those of our listeners and watchers, solo sex can be a great opportunity too if it's just yourself. There can
Right,
be
right.
other opportunities to explore those things because it's a healthy human experience.
But yeah, we're really
Hmm.
talking about the sleep side of things,
Hmm.
and to get better sleep, then incorporate this. It's a pretty pleasurable type of
Oh
experience.
yeah, the
So
science of it is phenomenal from a sleep health perspective.
yeah,
So yeah,
and hopefully you have all the tools at home.
yeah, absolutely. And if not, maybe we'll review some and definitely bust out that CPAP mask because all of you know how sexy those things really are. I have this running joke, Michelle, that we could totally have like a CPAP gone naughty.
Don't hurt,
Anywho,
don't hurt yourself. Until
yes,
next time, we hope that you have better sleep and make sure that you let us know if there's something that you want to hear on the podcast.
yeah,
And if you've tried our tips, I'm hoping that this year we turn over a new leaf and you can share your tips and we'll share ours.
yeah, absolutely. Like, let us know, send us feedback. All right,
No
until
pictures.
yeah, no pictures. Yep, no, no, no. That's for you. That's just for you, not for us. All right, Sleep Nation. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.